everyone. So I'm just going to close the poll now. We've left it up for some more people to come into the webinar. Who would like to talk about Power? I'm interested to know those that have used Power Pivot before. If you'd like to have a chat as to how you've used Power Pivot, just put your hands up and I'll unmute your mic so we can have a chat. So who would like to have a chat about Power Pivot or Power Pivot? I can see that 50% of us here have used it, so I'm very interested to know how you've used it. Okay, so Sandra has volunteered, so can we hear from Sandra? Hi, Sandra, I think your mic is up. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hi.
Hi, Sandra, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good, good. So have you used Power Pivot before?
Yeah.
Okay, could you tell us how you've used it and benefits, pluses or minuses, so that everyone can learn from how you've used Power Pivot?
Sorry?
I want everyone to learn from how you've used Power Pivot. So just tell us how you've used it.
Okay. Just to draw up data and the charts.
Have you
And
written any DAX code? Have you written anything in DAX? DAX? Do you know DAX?
no, I haven't.
Okay, so there's a difference between Power Pivot and pivot tables. You know that, right?
Oh, okay. Okay. No, I think maybe I'm
Okay,
mixing.
so maybe that's where the mix-up is coming from, people.
Oh,
So
okay.
in fact, today's webinar is going to talk about Power Pivot as well as pivot table. So I guess everyone will kind of understand the very, very, very big difference between the two. Yeah. So
Okay.
pivot tables are very, very common, but Power Pivot is a new tool from Microsoft. So,
Okay.
okay. All right. So thanks, Sandra. And let's move on. Okay. So let me end the poll. And 50% of us have used VLOOKUP before, so that's really cool. All right. So let me quickly introduce myself. I'm David, and I'm going to be hosting this webinar throughout today for the next 40 minutes. And it's interesting, as in the Power Pivot and Pivot Table talk is one of the big questions that we were asked this month, as in lots of people ask questions about Power Pivot and Pivot Table this month. Well, about me, I am principal of DBRAM Consulting, 15 years experience working with Excel, Power Pivot, business intelligence tools, financial modeling tools. I'm also a consultant with the World Bank. And I really, really like data, and I do a lot of work with data. And we've created quite a lot of courses at DBRAM Consulting on data. So DBRAM Consulting, we're 10 years this year, and we provide mainly, we say we basically make people better analysts. That's what our specialty is. We try and make you a good, really good analyst. And for this session, this is a monthly Excel webinar that we do for free. Every month is the third Thursday of the month, and we just talk about Excel, people send in the Excel questions, and then we try and solve the Excel questions on this webinar. And of course, the webinar is recorded, so you watch out for it on our YouTube channel and other video channels. So your questions for this month. And we just did a word cloud here, and you can see pivot is popping out, VLOOKUP is popping out, power is popping out, so that I guess power pivot, power pivot, and some people talked about dashboards and stuff. So what we do really is we just look at all your questions and then we come up with like a summary. So what we did is we came up with like 5 questions that we hope to cover today. Someone asked about budget templates with linked cells across different sheets. I think that was Stephen Ghana. Taufik and Oladapo asked about dashboards for data analysis. Quite a lot of people, Harrison, Nwa, Neka, Utomi, and Olu asked about VLOOKUP, and then performing operations using several sheets. Someone asked, two people asked about that, Neka and Hope. And working with pivot tables and Power Pivot, about 3 or 4 people asked, Utomi, Olu, Olakunki and Adeshola. So we'll see how we can go through all of this. And again, please, if you have any questions, just go straight to the chat. There's a question box there. You could type your questions in, and you could go to the chat and we could chat about it. And you could also raise your hand if you want to have any questions, and then I'll put you up. Yeah, so that's how we're going to work. All right. So let's go deep into it. Let's see. What I'm going to do is I'll try and use maybe one long story to answer all these questions all at once. But for dashboards are quite interesting too. Taufik and Oladapo asked about dashboards. And I would like to put up a dashboard that we usually use in our course. We use this dashboard to teach how to build dashboards in Excel. So this is a dashboard. When someone says dashboard, what you mean by dashboard is a one-page summary of reports. That means all your reports are summarized in one single page. That's what a dashboard is. Now, unfortunately, most software out there really don't do a good job of creating dashboards. And that's because they don't kind of spend the time to think through design. When I say design, I mean, how do you design your dashboard in a way that someone can look at it and know exactly what you're talking about? Now, if you look at this dashboard, you could see to the top left, you could see something like past 12 months. When you see that past 12 months, you would see what we call spark lines, just showing how the company has performed in the past 12 months. Now, that's all someone needs to know. You see that simple line there, it's called a spark line. And all it does is show performance in the past 12 months for revenue. You can see that it peaked in the middle, towards the end, it peaked and it dropped significantly and then peaked again. So that's a spark line. Now, someone else could use a pie chart, for example. Pie charts are very poor ways of showing data. So how do you create this dashboard? So I'm just going to briefly show you the technique. The technique really needs three main sheets. You need your data, you need your calculation sheet, and then you need your reports. So your data, again, let me go to where the data for this dashboard is. So if you look at this sheet, you'd see the data that runs this dashboard. Now this data, so data is coming up on your screen. So this data is what is used to run the dashboard. And every single day when there are new transactions, all you need to do is type those new transactions at the bottom of the data and your dashboard updates automatically. Now, there's quite a lot of formulas that go into this. You have various ways of creating a dashboard. You could create one with Excel formulas, which is what this one does. You could use pivot table to create a dashboard, or you could use Power Pivot to create a dashboard. You could even create a dashboard and load it onto powerbi.com. Powerbi.com is a self-service business intelligence tool from Microsoft, which is excellent. So you see there are various levels of how you can create dashboards. But Excel is so flexible. Excel is one of the basically the top most used business intelligence tool out there. Now, if you use Excel efficiently, you can do nearly anything and everything in Excel. Now, if you look at this data table must follow about 7 rules for you to be able to automate it for dashboards. So, for example, one rule is you must have only one row of headings. Another rule is your dates must be in a single column, like we see to the left, your dates must be in a single column. You should have no empty columns, you should have no empty rows, and every single data type must have its own column. So for example, if you see sales region here, I could see Europe, Middle East, North Africa. If I have states, I'll have to have states as another column, as in states or local governments or something as another column. All right, so this is the data. Now, this data gets fed into your calculation sheet. Once you feed that data into your calculation sheet, you write various intelligent formulas to basically pull data from data from your data sheet and do the calculations that you need to show in your dashboard. So, for example, if you look at this sheet, we have revenue, profit, average order size. You have your actual revenue for this particular period, 1st of January 2010 to 23 October 2010. All these are fully automated with formulas. You could see there's an interesting looking formula in there, right? Some ifs. Yeah. How many of us have used some ifs, for example? Who knows some ifs? Can you put your hands up if you've used some ifs before? Some ifs. Anybody here? So just click on the hand tool Let me know if you've used some ifs before. Okay. Emeka has used. Can we hear from Emeka? Emeka, tell us how you've used some ifs. Hello, Emeka, you're on. Hello, is Emeka there? Hello. I've unmuted your mic, Emeka. You can tell us about some ifs. Okay. Okay, is Echika there? Hello. Echika,
Hello.
are you there? Is this
I'm
Echika?
here. Yes.
Okay, cool. So how have you used some ifs? Can you tell us? Oh,
Okay.
could you just quickly introduce yourself? Yeah, Echika from.
Okay. My name is Echika. I used to work in Deloitte.
Okay.
Yes. So when you have a data with you're trying to sum of you're trying to sum up a data with, I think, different criteria. So you have, for example, you want to maybe you want to sum, give me the sum of the total number of females that hail from females that are of this age bracket and that of this, you have different criteria. So the summary formula takes into account the summary formula takes into account each of these different criteria, so that at the end of the day it can bring out the exact portion of people that match all these criteria, and then do a sum of their output for you.
Excellent summary. Excellent summary. So let me try and describe what maybe in looking at these tables. So for example, somebody may say, okay, this is Merlot. These are all wines. So I want to see what is the total revenue from Merlot in the Middle East. Yeah. What you do is what SUMIF does is what filter does. So if I come here and I filter my product by Merlot, that means everybody knows filter here, obviously. Filter by Merlot, all this will filter by Merlot. Unfortunately, this is all is sensitive. This is all I call it. We've created an interesting table that automatically updates every second. So this would be a good tool to use. Let me use something else. Let's say, let me get to a data set. Hold on a second. So let's get to data set. So look at this pivot data set here. That we're going to use actually for Power Pivot. So I want to check, okay, all the Ajakuta, is it Ajakuta? I want to check all the revenue from Ajakuta in 2003. What I do is I come and filter store by Ajakuta, right? Ajakuta. Yeah, so I filtered store by Ajakuta, and then I filtered date by 2003. So what I've just done is I've filtered two things. There are two criteria here. My store range, the criteria that I want from it is Ajakuta only. And my date range, the criteria I want from it is the year 2003. So that means I want to sum if the store is Ajakuta and if if the year is 2003, I want you to sum a revenue. So if I highlight the whole of revenue here, this column for revenue, at the bottom right, it's quite small. You would see, I'll just read out the total for you. That is 943770360. So that is basically the sum of revenue if the store is Ajakuta and if the year is 2003. So all these things we did with filter, that's what SUMIF does in a formula. And it's an extremely powerful formula. And when anyone wants to work with dashboards, just like Taufik and Oladapo asked, your major formula to use is SUMIF and SUMIFs. Now, once you've finally done those SUMIFs and SUMIFs, you need to now create the dashboard. So how you create a dashboard is, okay, so thank you very much, Echika. I'll unmute your mic. Thank you for contributing.
Thanks.
All right. So if you look at this dashboard, now it looks so nice. And I mean, if I press F9, you can see that it's updating automatically. What I'm doing here is I'm simulating data changes. As data changes, it updates. the key thing about working with Excel is try and automate as much as you can. So you need to, everything you do, just know that you should do it in a way that is automatic. Nothing, you don't need to touch anything after that. So this data updates automatically. How do we create it? You go to calculation sheet. So once you have your data, you go to calculation sheet, and your calculation sheet, you write all your sum ifs, as we just learned about now, and put them all, arrange them, date match them using various dates intelligently so that as your dates update, it updates as well. And then you can create charts from it. Once you create charts and tables, you can now take pictures of them and take it to your dashboard. So the secret of creating your dashboard is to take pictures of your charts and tables and go and arrange them in a dashboard. So I'm going to go to a blank sheet. So this is a blank sheet. You now need to arrange those cells in a way that looks really nice. First thing I'll do is I'll go to view and I'll go to, let's say, page layout view. See this page layout? Don't use normal view, use page layout. The reason I'm using page layout is I want to see a single page because a dashboard is a single page. I'm going to change the orientation to landscape if it's not already landscape. Okay, now you could decide, do you want a dashboard as a portrait dashboard or a landscape dashboard? I prefer landscape, so it's landscape. Now you can see what you're working with. You see, this is the sheet, or this is the, how will I call it? The single page that you're working with. Now you now need to arrange it in a very intelligent way for your dashboard. So I could decide, okay, I'm going to go and take a picture of some of these tables and charts. Okay, I may like this, see this? I may like this table. I may like this table. And if you note this table, let me just make it a bit bigger. If I press F9, you can see that the data, press change, I see it round, large. Okay, these are the top, this is the top 7 customers. So I guess the top 7 customers, you can see the names changing as I press F9. So what you do is you highlight and you take a picture. The kind of picture you're going to take is a picture that is a live picture. It's like a live cameraman that always takes the picture. But unfortunately, I have no idea why Microsoft decided not to put the camera tool. There's one excellent tool called the camera tool that's supposed to be here. So once you just click on the camera tool, you can take a live picture. So I have it up here, and I'll show you how I got it in a minute. So I just click on this camera, and what it does is, if you can see what we call the dancing ants around it, it has taken a picture. And I can go to my sample sheet where I want to put my dashboard and just click. When I click, this now comes into my dashboard. And it's a picture. I can resize it like a picture. Yeah, I can make it big or small, depending on how I want it. So the thing about this is it is live. So if you just look at it, I'm going to press F9 to update my data. So if I press F9, you'll see that it updates. Can you see? See the name changes? So this is live. This is a live dashboard. It's a live picture. So I'll take a picture. So the key thing about a dashboard is just take pictures, create all your tables and charts, and then take pictures of them. There's a small trick in taking a picture of a chart. You have to understand how Excel works. A chart is not Excel. Excel is cells. Excel works with cells. That's why I could highlight cells and take a picture of cells. When I click on this chart, if you look up here, you would notice that my camera tool has been deactivated. If I click inside Excel, my camera tool to the top left is activated. But when I click on the chart, it is deactivated. So any ideas why that is? Who can tell us? Why do you think your camera tool gets deactivated when I click on the chart? Any ideas? Okay, Emeka has an idea. Cool. Emeka, why do you think that happens? Hello, Emeka, you're on. When I click on the chart, my camera tool up here is deactivated because I need the camera tool to take a picture, but the guy is not allowing me to take a picture. So why do you think? Emeka, put your hands up. Are you there? Okay, no, Emeka's not there. So let me just tell you why it's deactivated. Because it is not Excel. A chart is a tool that works with Excel. Anything you bring into Excel, let me go to insert. If I come here and bring a shape, this shape that I'm drawing here, this is not Excel. It is a tool that works with Excel. Once you understand that these are tools that work with Excel, then you understand the language that they speak. You understand what language this tool speaks when it wants to talk to Excel. Excel works with cells, sheets, workbooks. Anything else is not Excel, so you need to understand their language. Yeah, you just like you're understanding Yoruba and French and Igbo and stuff like that. So the language is simply this. I'm going to trick it to work with Excel by going behind the chart. I just go behind the chart, highlight the cells behind the chart, and then take a picture. Once I do that, and I go to my sample dashboard and click, you would see that that chart comes in. Really, what's happening is I'm taking a picture. You know how when you're taking a picture with someone and someone jumps in front of you and just, it's just like, is it photo bombing or what they call that? So that's what I just did with this chart. And then the chart comes in. So basically, your dashboard is just pictures, 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 and you arrange them in a very neat way and you have your dashboard. And because it's a camera tool you're using, it is live, which means when your data updates, it automatically updates your dashboard images. And that's the best practice for creating a dashboard in Excel. All right, super. So let's move on to something else. So on our menu, we're going to talk about VLOOKUP, pivot tables, and Power Pivot. So what I intend to do here is just to have a look. Let's have a look at this data. Let's have a look at this data. Okay, so if you look at this, we have, by the way, I'm using Excel 2016. So anything that I know won't work for 2013 or 2010, I'll let you know. Who uses 2010? I hope everyone has moved to 2013 or 2016. Hello? Anybody here using using 2020 or 2003 or 2007? Anyone using 2007? No, no hands up. That's good. And Excel 2013, 2016 is excellent. It's really, really good. It's a massive improvement, but you need to get Office 365. That's Office 365, and then you get the subscription to Excel 2016, and you continue getting it renewed every time. You don't need to ever buy another Excel. You just renew your subscription. So if you look at this data, we have store. I have date, I have fiscal period, I have something called model, then I have line of business, I have revenue, I have units sold. Let me remove this filter. And then I have days in the period. So we're going to create a report. This data is for, I think, 2 years, 2003 to 2004. So we are going to create a report. I want to create a report by, let's say, I want to create, this is Abaji, Demsa, Ajokuta, all these local governments in Nigeria. But I want to create a report by region. Any ideas? How can I create a report by region? Someone can, you could go to the chats. Can we all go to the chat and just tell me how would I create a report by region? Let's go to the chat section and just type what you think we can do. Someone says, hey, this is my data. I would like to create a report by region. I want to see regional sales, monthly regional sales. I want to see monthly regional sales. Well, this is the data I have. I have by store. How can I create a report by region? Anyone? Or let's even say state. How can I create a report by state? So I know that Ajaokuta, I'm not sure, is that in Lagos or is it Ogun State? I'm not sure. Ganye, I have no idea. Somewhere in the north. Gombe, maybe it's in Gombe, who knows? So how do I create a report by state? I want to create a report, Kano, Abuja. Any ideas? Can we all go to the chat or go to the question box and type your suggestions? What do you think? How do you create a report by state? Okay, get the questions coming in. Yes, let's keep typing our suggestions. How do you create a report by state? All right. Well, some of us guessed it. It's actually, we need VLOOKUP. So we need somewhere in Excel that can tell us what states these are. So lucky enough, I think I have something called delocation here. So if you look at this table, this sheet, I have Abuja FCT and then Abaji. So Abaji store is in Abuja FCT. Buhari is in Abuja. Adavi is in Kogi. Ajakuta, can you imagine, is in Kogi? What was I thinking? Ajakuta is in Kogi. So we could use this to populate a table in here to create a report. But before I create a report, we're just going to create a simple pivot table very quickly. So I'm going to create a pivot table of this. How you do that is you go to Insert and you go to Pivot Table and you just click OK. Your data has to be there, obviously, and your data must be clean and have a flat file format. Now, I have a pivot table. Now, your pivot table has 4 buckets. You have 4 buckets. You have filter bucket, column bucket, row value bucket. Now, when you want to create a pivot table, I always advise, or I report you the pivot table. I advise you write it on paper first. Write the kind of report you want to create on paper. How does it look on paper? What are the things on your rows? What are the things on your columns in your paper? What value are you analyzing? So for example, I want to analyze revenue. So I'm going to just tick revenue. I've ticked my revenue. By ticking revenue, Excel already knows that that is the value I'm analyzing. So you can see it dropped it into the value bucket. Right. Now, what I want to analyze by store. So I tick store. By ticking store, Excel dropped it into my row bucket. So you can see all of them in the row bucket. Yeah. So these are my store's revenues. This is revenue by store. But unfortunately, I need revenue by state. I want revenue by state. And when you have a pivot table, you can't you need that data. If you want to analyze by something, you need that data inside your pivot table. You need that data. I don't have data on store, I mean on state. So I have to come to the right here and write state. And then I need to go and do a VLOOKUP and bring the states here. All right. And that's, we need to do a VLOOKUP. So how do those VLOOKUP work? Let's think about how it works manually. I'm looking for Abaji. If I go to delocation, I can see that Abaji is Abuja, and I can probably copy this, right? And come to my pivot table and go to the right here and paste. Yes? Now, there are 41,550 rows here. I can't do this copy and paste 41,000 times. I need to use VLOOKUP. All right. So I'm going to try and use VLOOKUP. I'm going to say a small problem and we'll try and use it. So what I did with my eyes was I looked at Abaji, and then I went to this table to look for Abaji. And once I found Abaji, I now picked market. Now for VLOOKUP to work, VLOOKUP looks from left to right. That means if I find what I'm looking for here, I need to go right. I can't go left. In VLOOKUP, you look from left to right. Once you find what you're looking for, you need to now go to the right. Unfortunately, once I found what I'm looking for, which is Abaji, I need to go to the left to collect what I need. So that means this table can't really work for VLOOKUP. I will need to modify it, which is one of the disadvantages of VLOOKUP. So I'll need to copy this and maybe paste it here. And then these 2 columns, this and this, is what I'm now looking for. So these 2 columns, I can basically highlight it and call it something. I'm going to call it state. So these 2 columns is state. So now I need VLOOKUP. Hey, VLOOKUP, please go to this table called state. Look for the thing I asked you to look for here. And then when you find it, please go to the next column to the right and pick the information for me. That's what I'm telling VLOOKUP to do. So I come in here and I do just that. I come in here and say equals to VLOOKUP. Okay, so what I did there was tab Control A to bring the lookup box. So lookup value, what am I looking for? I'm looking for this guy here. Where am I looking for it? Well, I called the table state. I press F3 and bring the name of the table. I called it state. So I'm looking for A2 in a table called state. When you find A2, which is Abaji in this table, please go to column 2. This 2 means go to the second column to the right. Yeah. And then range lookup, this basically means, am I looking for an exact match or a close match? Always type 0 in there or false. Yeah, or most of the time type 0 or false in there. So when I click OK, it will now find me Abuja. Yeah. Now I can come to the edge and double click and it finds for all 40 something thousand rows. Now I have information that I can use in my report. Okay, so Oladapo is asking for, wants to ask if there's any column for state or region. Okay, so we've just created state column in here. Now we need to put this into our report. Remember, we created a pivot table report. Now, if I come here, I can see that there is store, date, blah, 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 but there is no state. And even if I come to analyze and I refresh, if I refresh my pivot table, I still don't have state. And that's because the data range, if I go to change my data source, it doesn't cover this new column that I have. Can you see that? It stops at H. I need it to go to I. So I have to come in here, click on this H and probably change it to I, right? And say, okay. So now my pivot table covers that and you can now see state. Can you see state has now appeared? So if I tick state, I can now see my report by state and I can remove store. So now I have my report by state, just like I wanted it. What about if I wanted this report by region? Then see, I have to go through the same process, isn't it? I need to come to my pivot data. I need to come in here again. I need to type region, and then I now need to do a VLOOKUP, and then I now need to refresh. I need to change my data source and all that. All that is stressful. That's not best practice, really. So now I'm going to introduce something else. I'm going to introduce Power Pivot. Now, Power Pivot is an excellent tool. That is a tool that basically allows you to work with different data sources all at once, and you build something called a data model. Power Pivot is basically SQL. Microsoft has just given us the whole of SQL capabilities inside Excel. Now, this is a very, very, very big thing. I probably will do another webinar, full 1-hour webinar on Power Pivot, maybe sometime. If you guys ask a lot about Power Pivot, I'll do that. Now, Power Pivot will take this table, see this table that we've been working on, and instead of doing a VLOOKUP, it will link you, just tell it that this table is related to this location table here, okay? So see this location table, you tell Power Pivot that these two are related in a way, and it will do the VLOOKUP for you. So what I'm going to do is we're going to name these tables. I'm going to give this table a name. Okay, I'm going to convert it to a table. So this is a table. I'm going to call this my location table. This is my location table. I can also give this one a name as well. I'll call this my region table. Okay. And then this database that I have here, this is my data source. This one here, this is my data source. I'm going to highlight the whole thing as well and give it a, convert it to a table, and I'll call it my data. Okay. Now for Power Pivot to work, all I need to do is load all this data, load it into the data model. So I'm going to come to manage Power Pivot and I'm going to manage. I'm going to open the manage Power Pivot tool. Power Pivot is a completely different tool from Excel. It works with Excel. So it's a new feature that works with Excel. So here we are. So this is my data model. So I'm going to add this table, this pivot data table that's here. I'm going to add it to my data model. I just clicked add to the data model. Now what has happened is this. From Excel here, I was in Excel. I'll quickly get back. This is Excel. So this pivot pivot data, I have added it to something called a data model. I've added it to a data model, and it's here. So this is not really Excel, it's just a data model. I'm just bringing data from different places and adding it in. So I'm going to add something else. So I'm going to go to my D location. I'm also going to add, see, this is data. This is data on market and store. I'm going to add it to my data model as well. You can see location has come into my data model. I'm also going to add another thing to my data model. I'm going to add this region and market to my data model. Now, I'm just adding from Excel. The thing with Power Pivot is you can add from anywhere. I mean, you can add from, I can add data from Oracle database, SAP database, data from on the internet, data from text files, data from other Excel files, data from Facebook, data from Twitter. I can add all these things together and then create my own reporting engine all by myself. You don't need IT for this. And once you create your own reporting engine, anytime your data updates in any of these sources, all your reports are updated automatically. This is extremely powerful. So they started Power Pivot in 2010. Microsoft were experimenting with it in 2010. So it was free, download online. 2013, they were still experimenting. It was, but you needed to get what you need to do with, if you have 2013, is you need to check your computer to see if it is the specific version that has Power Pivot. So what I would like everyone to do in case you're in Excel is you could go to File. If you go to File, you would see Account, and you can check to see what version of Excel you have. If you're using 2013, you need to have a version called Professional Plus. So in here, you would read Microsoft Office Excel Professional Plus. If you don't have Professional Plus, unfortunately, you don't have Power Pivot. Yeah, you have to have Professional Plus. And then if you're using 2016, like I'm doing, you need to, there are certain versions that have Power Pivot. Like what I have is Pro Plus, and then there are certain versions E3, E5. Most of us online now will not have Office 365, but coming soon, maybe the next couple of years, everybody will have Office 365. So that's the latest Office. And it comes, some of it comes with Power Pivot, some don't. So now we're in this data model. Now let me explain what the data model looks like. So this is a diagrammatic view of our data model. All I did was add to data model, nothing complex here. So this is my data, yeah? So this is the table for my data. This is location data, and this is regional data, right? So see these three? So these are the three tables that I've brought into my data model. Now let's create a report. I'm going to create a report. So let's say I'll go to this home here, and let's create a report with a pivot table. I'm coming here. This is Power Pivot. I'm not creating a report, so it's going to go to Excel. This is Power Pivot. Your reports are shown in Excel. So I go to pivot table. I say new workbook and say okay. So now I'm going to create a report. Now, if you notice, this is a bit different from the one in Excel. It's still pivot table. Power Pivot uses pivot table, but you can see the three tables in here. You can see location. Remember, I brought location into the data model. You can see my data, and you can see region. Right. So if I come to my data, I can take revenue, right? And I'll see the revenue here. I can take store. I'll see the store. Now remember, this is what we did when we did the simple pivot table. But in the pivot table version, we needed by region. So we needed to come to our data and do a VLOOKUP. If you remember, I came to this data when I was using the Excel pivot table, and I had to come and do states, VLOOKUP for states. And I said, if you want region, I have to do VLOOKUP for region. Now with Power Pivot, this is not a simple Excel pivot table. This is a Power Pivot table. I can untick store. I can come straight to region, and look at what's going to happen. If I click region, unfortunately, it's not giving me a report by region. Let's take market. Let's see what to do by market, right? Take market. Nah, it's just giving me gibberish. So something is wrong here. What is wrong? There's something we haven't done. If I take store, still not working. Look at the Excel version we did. Seems to be fine. Abia, everything looks good by store because we did a VLOOKUP. But Power Pivot is showing gibberish. Yeah. Not really showing anything. I'm going market instead of store. Okay, it's not showing the right thing. Okay, so any ideas why? Anybody, please? Someone should type into the chat, type into questions. Why do you think this model using Power Pivot is not working? There's a clue already there. There's a clue there. Who knows why? Why isn't it working? Someone should tell me. Why isn't it working? We need to relate the tables. Oladapo, yeah, Emeka says we need to link the data model. Perfect. That's exactly what's happening. There's a VLOOKUP missing. We didn't do VLOOKUP. So this location table is not talking to my data table. I need to go back to my data model and do one simple magic. What's the magic? This is my data and this is my region. I need to link them. So how do I link them? Or let me link to location first. What is related here and here? It is store. So I come to this, I go like this, I drag and drop and click into store. So now I'm relating my data to location data. If I go back to Excel, guess what? It's going to refresh and everything automatically updates. Perfect. And then I can come to back to my data model and I can link this market here to this. Let me link from here. This market here, I link it to this. And you can see I have various branches. I've linked another branch. And guess what? Now I can come to my Excel, come to region, remove markets, click region, and I have my regional report. Perfect. And the nice thing is I can come to budget data. I can load this, for example, I can load budget data into my, how powerful this is. I can load budget data into my model and I can now do reports by budget if I want to. Yeah. So I can click this and load it into my data model and do reports by budget. Power Pivot is extremely, extremely powerful. I've just shown the tip of the, the massiveness of this tool. It's a really powerful tool. Anyway, I would like you guys to ask questions. Just put your hands up if you have any questions for me. And because time is already up, it's very quick. Time really goes very quickly. So Oladapo has a question. Let's hear from Oladapo. Yes, Oladapo, you're online. Hello, we can't hear you. Oladapo, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me,
Okay.
sir?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, cool. So can you introduce yourself and ask a question?
Okay, my name is Oladapo Shuriola. I'm a data analyst and I work with business intelligence and data services. Thank you for the presentation, sir. And my quick question is this. For so many people who don't have Power Pivot to work with at their disposal, while you were doing the VLOOKUP the other time, I was thinking probably you also mentioned that for those who know Excel functions very well, one can also use match and index to block in that gap of VLOOKUP, where because it's a major setback for VLOOKUP, as in looking from left to right. So that's just what I want to mention, sir. Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you for the
nice. So can you stay on? Can you stay on and let's quickly do that with everybody.
Yes,
so let me quickly introduce that to everyone. So if you look at the location data, you remember that the problem we had with VLOOKUP was that our store data was to the right and market data was to the left. So we needed to carry this and bring it down here, which is really not good. So for index works like this. Index looks at this table and every single cell inside this table has an address. How index works is this. Everything has an address. If you look at Buhari, for example, Buhari has an address. It has a row address and a column address. It is in column 2 of this table. Yeah, if you see, you can see A and B. This table has only 2 columns, A and B. So Buhari is in column 2. And what row is Buhari? If you check, you see row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. Buhari is row 4. Sorry. Okay, Oladapo, you have your baby there. What's your baby's name?
Her name is Dorothy. I just have to move to the Mac. My shareholder.
Nice, don't worry, Dorothy is an Excel guru already. All right, thanks, Oladapo. Let me continue and we'll chat again. Thank you. All right, so if as I was saying, so Buhari is row 4. If you look at this table, let's check the name of this table. This table, I think we called it state. Oh no, we didn't call it state. What was this table called? This table is called, let's see, design is called location. So in the location table, okay, for location table, this is row 1. See, location table, this is 1, 2. So Buhari is 3. Yeah. So if I come in here and I type Buhari, okay. Now if I type Buhari and I come in here and I say index. So what index does is this. Index is asking you, okay, what are you working with? Which table are you working with? The table I'm working with is called location. Yeah. Now, what row do I want to go to? Well, I need to get Buhari's market. What row is the market? It's 1, 2, 3. Is row 3. What column do I need to go to? Well, this table called location has 2 columns, 1, 2. The column I need for market is column 1. Now, so I've gone to row 3, column 1 of the location table. My location table starts from here. So you have location table, and what I can see is this location table, row 1, row 2, row 3, and column 1. So the address is row 3, column 1. And then I can get my Abuja. That's how you get Abuja with index and match. Okay, it's just an address, but there's a big problem. The big problem is I typed 3 here and I typed 1 here. That is manual. That's a manual approach. One thing in Excel you should never do is you should never hard code. Now, if you watch our other webinars, you see that the function to use to automate that is match. Okay, so how did I know it's a row 3? Because I came and counted, didn't it? I came and said 1, 2, 3. So you need a function that can do that for you. And the name of that function is match. So when I put the match function into my index, I can say, hey, match, look for Buhari. I need you to look for this Buhari inside this column here. And once you look for it, please find an exact match. All right? So that's we're looking for Buhari inside that column. If I go back to index, you would see you have match, this Buhari location. Let's quickly get back to match. So we're looking for Buhari in this location array. Okay, let's click OK. Let me just see what's up. Hold on a second. Okay. Now you have your location data. Let me quickly type match. So match is lookup value, lookup array, and then match type. The lookup value I'm looking for is Buhari. If I spelled it right, did I spell it right? Let me see. Buhari, yeah. And then the where it should look for it is in here, in there. And then the match type should be 0. All right. Uh-oh, something is wrong with this lookup array. If I click on this, show 74, Imo state, which is not Imo state. Show 1, minus 1, 0. So it's not finding exactly Buhari. Let me get the spelling right. Let me copy this. Okay, we didn't spell it right. So now it's finding Abuja FCT. Okay, so that's basically how index and match works. But again, we'll probably talk about this in another webinar. Let me quickly get back to our lookups. So we've talked about working with pivot tables and Power Pivot. You've just seen the linkages with Power Pivot, performing operations using several sheets. Well, again, we used different sheets to do VLOOKUPs and VLOOKUPs, but the most efficient way to work is really Power Pivot. We used VLOOKUP to look for data and try and get data from other sheets and add it to our data table so that we can use pivot tables. But as I said, that is a bit inefficient. You should use Power Pivot. dashboards for data analysis. We saw how you take pictures with the camera tool. So let me quickly show you how to get this camera tool. This camera tool, unfortunately, is not in your normal ribbon. You need to go to File, then you need to go to Options. Once you get to Options, you'll have to go to Custom or Customize a ribbon, or you can say Quick Access Toolbar. Let's customize our Quick Access Toolbar. And there are some commands in Excel. If I come to the top here and say commands that are not in the ribbon, these are various things Excel can do that you probably never knew of because they didn't qualify to be shown in here. Not everything can be in the ribbon, but Excel is such a robust tool that it can do all of these things. So all you need to do is go and look for camera. Once you find camera, just see a camera. Once you find camera, you add it. Click add. Once you add it, it comes in here. And then once you click OK, you will now have it available to you to take pictures, live pictures, right? There are other interesting tools in Excel. Like for example, I like this speaking tool. If I click it, Excel speaks. You see, so Excel can actually talk to you. Word can talk to you. You could actually highlight and it reads your reports to you. So all sorts of stuff that Excel can do that we never knew. All right, guys. So don't know if there's any last words from anyone. We are come to the end of today's webinar. And if you have any last questions, please type it into the chat, or you can put your hands up. I have one last quiz, or should I say, small quiz for you. I want to ask if anyone here has ever attended an Excel training before. If you have, just click yes or click no. Who has attended an Excel training? Okay, I have 50-50, 60-40, 67-33. Okay, more people have attended than haven't attended. That's good. So we've all attended Excel trainings before. All right. So any questions for me? One last question. I think I can handle one last question before we have to go. If you have a question, you can put your hand up or you could just ask, okay? Any questions, you could type it in or ask directly. Okay, Emeka, let's see if your mic works this time. Emeka, I have a question. Can you speak now? Can we hear you? Emeka's mic has a problem. Okay, anyone else with the last word for the day? So I'm going to close the poll and I have a small bonus for you guys for attending and being so nice and attentive. Anyone that wants to, we have a special offer that we're going to offer you guys. Special 30% discounts on some of our data, business intelligence and financial modeling courses coming up very soon. So you could take advantage of that. So Emeka, we can't hear your mic. Okay, password. Okay, manual. Someone's asking for a manual for this training. This webinar will be published online soon. But what we usually do is we kind of pull some stuff out of this and we'll put it on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and type D Brown Consulting, you should see some videos from our YouTube channel. So, Sandra, any other questions from anybody? All right, so thank you very much everyone for attending this webinar. Again, we do this webinar every month, the third Thursday of every month, a free Excel webinar. We have other webinars we do as well. And so thank you very much for attending and have a good day and enjoy using Excel. Thank you.